Hi guys, Trader97 here, and today we're going to be doing a bit of pre-market analysis. We'll take a look at Kiwi dollar, we'll take a look at the Australian dollar versus the greenback, and we're going to try and figure out if there's any potential setups that we could trade going into the coming week. And today is 14th of March 2021. And without further ado, let's get into the analysis. Okay, so the most recent uptrend began on the Kiwi dollar um, on the 20th of March when the price started to move up, then into consolidation, broke right out of it, into a very strong impulsive move. And then on, we've had this formation of sort of an upward wedge or a bit of a channel like structure. And the price is successfully, traded within this channel and upward wedge like structure. And that is why the main trend to trade here would be the uptrend, and we're going to look to buy the dips within this trend. So if we take it the if we take a look at the most recent price movement here and the setup that I had in mind that we could trade into this coming week was looking to buy near the support levels that have already been tested three times or more than three times recently. I mean, there's three tests here of the 7.7099 area, and it has been tested over the course of 3 days consecutively. And I was thinking, if the price comes back to retest that area, that will also coincide with this trend line support of this ascending wedge structure. So that would be a pretty good area to enter into a buy trade. And also, if we take a look at the left side, the consolidation that took place over the course of much of the January and February, the months of Jan and Feb, the prices, tested this area again once or twice, actually one, two, and three times in those, last 2 months, and then again recently. So let's take a look at the smaller time frame, switching to the hour 4 now. And the strategy here is going to be quite simple. We see that the price has, just give me a moment. Okay, so the price has, this corrective move once it broke right above this ascending wedge. It quickly came back down, started a bit of a corrective move, and that is kind of over now because it has broken right out of this trendline support. So what do we do? Since the price is majorly in an uptrend, we're going to look to buy. And what better area to buy if you're going to buy the dip? So it makes sense if you want to buy above this resistance area at 0.7241. But if you want to, get the most out of your trade, and if you want the most out of your trading setup, and go for that good risk to reward ratio, it does make more sense to look for a more decent dip back to this trendline support area as well as this horizontal support area, right around 0.7112. So if the price comes close to that and you enter a buy, you could trade this move all the way back up to the first target right around let's see here, 0.7298. And if it breaks past that, then boy oh boy, it gets really juicy because you could take just ride the trend all the way back up to 0.7458. which I do doubt. It just may not get all the way back up there because obviously this trend line resistance up top is probably gonna um, probably get the bears to come back in and push the price lower once it reaches point 74 7430 most likely. So that is, one of the setups that you could look to get into once a market opens. And if you look at it, on a smaller time frame, you would easily be able to time this trade because if you just plot your chart just the way that I have, you can, be ready for this move. So if price breaks above this structure, you still look for the longs. If the price breaks below the structure and comes back into this key support area, you look to buy from here as well. So it's a pretty clear cut kind of a trade. And now we're going to switch to the Australian dollar versus the greenback and see how that pair is doing and look for potential setups that we could trade on there. So very similar kind of a movement, um, compared when we compare the Kiwi dollar and the Aussie dollar. They've both had very similar kind of performance when we compare them against the greenback. Bottoming in the last year right around that March month, and then the price continues to ascend, break past resistances, and continues to form high lows and high highs, a consecutive series. Now we can see that the price has followed this trend line resistance once and twice, but on the third attempt, it really hasn't touched it. So what I was thinking was either the price could, if it still continues with the same momentum and it breaks past this point 7788 area and closes above it, it could, go on to retest point 80. So point 80 would be the key resistance. But if it continues to break past it, at some point it would go on to retest this trend line resistance. But that, however, uh, does seem unlikely at this point. Um, the chances for that aren't really high. However, what would make a really good trade in this chart if we could get in at the at a dipping point where the price would go on to correct lower. If this structure is broken, the trend line support that is extending from the 21st of December, having tested on the 2nd of February 2021, and then back at it again on the 9th of March. So this has been tested three times, so it kind of makes for a decent support trend line. And then if it breaks past below it, you might see a more of a corrective wave descending all the way down to this trend line support that has been going on from 12th 15th of June 2020, and this would be the third test of it. So if the price goes back down and we see it coming back to this support level, we could look to trade this setup, which would make for a really good trade. You may have a really good risk to reward ratio if you're looking to trade it like this, but if it does not happen, then we would have to look for trades on a smaller time frame. However, this does seem really good going from a risk to reward perspective because you could actually adjust this a little bit more. Yeah, so really good risk to reward ratio on this setup, but this also doesn't seem very likely at this point because both of these setups really haven't gotten this setup really hasn't got the confirmation that we need. right? It's something that we're looking forward to, and just anticipating that it might happen. But let's take a look at something that would be far more likely. Right now, what's really likely is that the corrective phase seems to be um, a little bit, I would say, seems over on the 4 hour time frame, and the price has resisted to this level at 0.7796. So if the price closes past this level, we have resistance at 0.7840, and if the price breaks above that, we'd have our next resistance here at 0.80. So what does make sense here is, we still look for buys, and we look for a buy setup either, back down here at the trend line support area, keep our risk small, and first target here, and our second target there. So first target right at 0.7835, second target at 0.80. So this seems like a really likely scenario that the price, which just may end up happening, because right now, this seems like a move that's most likely going to break lower again. I'm thinking that the price just might come back down for a retest, and then we have a move back up. So that's one scenario. The other one, which I think could happen as well, is if the price breaks above this level at resistance, we could look to trade all the way up here. So this would most likely be the buy stop kind of an order that you could just set up right above the resistance, and it's just going to sit there with your stops under, a decent higher low. But that is if, price breaks above this high and then breaks above this high. So at that point in time, you'll probably have a significant low on the hour 4 time frame to, keep your stops under, and trade it all the way up to 0.80. That is trade setup that's likely. However, from a risk to reward perspective, two setups make the most sense to take. Either you buy around this support level, support trend line, or you buy down there, which does seem like a setup that we'd have to wait for. Um, we may have to wait for this for quite a while until this, trend line support area breaks. All right. Well, thank you so much for watching, and I hope you all have a